Hi there, I am Dr. Saran. Welcome to this webinar on what is the new role of a data scientist in this emerging AI. Last almost a decade or maybe last 5 6 years, we have been predominantly talking about AI. There are several AI models which are developed. We use AI practically in many situations, and there is a lot of research which is going on in this field. Now, as the AI has evolved over these years, what happened to the traditional data scientists? Whether the role of a data scientist has changed or whether whether it has really remained the same. What are the expectations of a data scientist? Are they changed? Are they expected to learn the new skills? So, what the industry is asking or expecting from a data scientist, and these are the questions which I will try to answer in this webinar. So, for this, first let us consider a normal traditional ML development process. Now, in the traditional ML development process, you start with a database which is stored in like a SQL server or in a NoSQL database. Let it be Oracle or MongoDB or anything else, or maybe even in Excel. So you take this data, you pre-process the data to remove nulls, etc. Then you create the data sets, you split the data set into two parts. One thing is for training and the other is for testing. Now, using the training data set, you train a certain ML algorithm which is mostly based on some stats technique. Now, once the model is trained, you take the trained model, you test its performance on the testing data set, evaluate the performance using some metrics. Say, for example, you can get the accuracy score. If the accuracy score is good enough for you to accept, just deploy the model on a production server. If not, then what do? You go back and hyper tune the parameters of the algorithm which you have applied for the ML development. Again, train the model, do the testing again look at the score, and if it is not satisfactory, then maybe think of another algorithm. If another algorithm also does not work out, then maybe you go back to the beginning of the entire process, that is pre-processing the data set, see what columns can be eliminated, select new features, again create the data sets for training, testing, and so on, and follow the entire process. Now, this is a typical ML development workflow. Now, let me go into the details of the task performed by a traditional data scientist for this entire development process. Now, the first task is pre-processing the data. Now, when you talk about pre-processing the data, there will be factors like removing the null values from the fields, from the columns, removing the duplicates, as the duplicate will not help in training the model. In case if there are numerical columns with wide ranges, then probably you will scale all those to a common scale like 0 through 1. And finally, in case if there are any categorical columns, then you will encode them into like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and so on. That is basically encode them into numerical values so that the machine can understand and the machine can process it. The next task for a data scientist will be visualizing the data. That is basically try to understand the data. Now for understanding the data, he may use some tools, he may use some graphics to find out what is the correlation between the different columns. Now if the two columns are going to give the same kind of information, it is better to eliminate one column altogether in machine training, because finally you want to reduce the number of features. So to find out the correlation between the columns, you will use some tools for visualizing the data. Secondly, if you are doing something like a classification, and if it is a multi-class classification, the data which you have or the data which is collected in the field may be imbalanced. That is, certain classes may have only a few number of data points, while others may be having very large number of data points. So you need to understand to balance the data for the machine to get trained properly. Otherwise, the machine will get biased only towards those data points having the large number, and that is where you are required to imbalance the data sets, or rather balance the data sets which are imbalanced. The next task comes is features engineering. Now under features engineering, the most important part is, out of the several columns, you have to decide on which columns would be used as features for machine learning and which column would be used as a target variable or as an output. Now this target or the classification, if you are doing, may be a binary type or a multi-class type. Now what is important here is, of course, there are several methods available for selecting the features, which is called features engineering. So as a data scientist, obviously you are familiar with that. But what is really very important is you must have a domain knowledge to understand what these columns represent, and then only you will be able to select the proper features for machine learning. So having a domain knowledge becomes an essential part of a data scientist. After the features and the target are selected, the next task for a data scientist is creating the data sets. So we split the entire available data into three parts: the training, the validation, and the testing. And then he will proceed ahead for the model development. Now here comes the most important task, and that is selecting the model. Now the first thing he has to decide is, looking at the problem statement or looking at the business requirement, he has to decide whether this is a regression problem or a classification problem. So that is the fundamental decision he has to take. That is the most important decision which he has to take. Then if it is a classification, he will have to decide whether this is binary or a multi-class. So are there multiple classes in the output, or only two classes like true or false, like your email, a spam or non-spam. So, and in case if it is like a hotel review, then it can be ranked like one on a scale of 1 through 5. So this will become like a multi-class classification. The next factor would be, he will have to decide whether it is going to be a supervised learning or a unsupervised learning. Now this question will be answered depending on whether you have a labeled data set. That is, somebody has taken trouble of creating the target values for each row. So if the target values are known, then it is a labeled data set, and then you can employ the supervised learning methods over there or the supervised learning algorithms over there. Now suppose if your data set is very large, let us say your data set runs into millions of records, millions of data points. Now labeling that many data points may not be possible or will be practically almost impossible for any human being to do it. So what we do is we use the algorithms which are based on unsupervised learning. So let the machine find out the classification or categorize them into different classes and those kind of things. So depending on the size of the data set, depending on whether somebody has taken the trouble of labeling the data set, the data scientist has to decide what kind of algorithm to use here, whether it is a supervised learning or a unsupervised learning. The next task here is the algorithm selection. Now, before I talk about the algorithm selection, let us first look at the expected skills here. Now, to do all these tasks, what do we expect from a data scientist? What kind of knowledge he should possess? What kind of technologies he should know? So, you look at the expected skills here. The first thing is he has to prepare the data, he has to pre-process the data, he has to understand the data, and for this, obviously he should know how to use Excel or a data which is provided in a spreadsheet. Now the data may come in relational databases or in non-relational databases like NoSQL databases and so on, or it may maybe in a like a plain text kind of thing, but we are talking about the numeric data, that is the CSV data kind of thing. Then he should have the skills of visualizing the data, that is he should know how to use the various libraries or the built-in Python functions or the libraries developed by third parties by the community like Seaborn and so on, where he can visualize the data, have different angles to look at the data, to understand the correlation between the columns, to visualize the percentage, the distribution of the data points across the classes and so on. So he should be familiar with all those libraries and with all those tools which will help him understand the data. Now for all these things, obviously what is required is some good programming language. Now Python is a language which is generally used or which is popularly widely used for machine learning, and there are several libraries which are available for pre-processing the data. So obviously for a data scientist, we would expect that he should know Python well so that he can create data frames. He can use those libraries like Seaborn and so on to visualize the data and understand the data. Now it is not necessary that you must use Python for machine learning. As I said, Python is very widely used and there are several libraries which are available in Python which can help in developing good machine learning models. But then you are welcome to use the old traditional languages or very age-old languages like C++, Java, or even the new languages like Julia, which can give you a very good performance in machine development and the execution and the inference. Now, after all, it goes without saying that to do all those things, data scientists must have a very good domain knowledge. Without a domain knowledge, you will not be able to pre-process the data properly. Removing nulls and all those things is a skill of a normal developer, but what is more important is understanding the data, and for understanding the data, selecting the features for model training, you require a domain knowledge. So this is one of the most important skill that is expected out of a data scientist during the first task of data set preparation. Now the next important task here is the selection of the algorithm itself. Now when you talk about the algorithm selection, why I say that this is the most important skill. As we have seen, there are 2 types of problems, regression or classification. Of course, there are other kind of problems also which I am not addressing it here, like the reinforcement learning. Now that is an area which I am keeping it aside because almost I would say 90% of the problems in this world are lie basically into into these two categories, that is the regression and the classification. Now, if you look at the chart of algorithms which are available, which I am showing it here, there are several algorithms which are available for both the types. The number of algorithms can run into hundreds. Each algorithm has a specific purpose. Each algorithm requires a kind of training, kind of understanding, the parameters which it uses, which it accepts, the output which it gives. So you require a deep understanding of how the algorithm works to use it efficiently. Forget about the implementation. The implementation has to be an optimized code because you should note that the algorithm will be run on a huge data set, so the training time would be very large. So we leave it up to those ML developers to develop very efficient algorithms or to develop the optimized code. Or that is where the role of a ML engineer comes. So the industry, besides the data scientist, they also use the term machine learning engineer. Now the machine learning engineer must be an expert in coding, in optimization techniques to optimize these algorithms. He will use the knowledge of a data scientist who probably knows maths or the stats, or the ML engineer will take the help of a person who will design the algorithm, that is basically a stats person, to understand the working and then generate an optimized code. Now this is something which would probably scare anybody. As a data scientist, if I have to learn all these algorithms, well, previously in machine learning courses, the training institutions and everybody used to teach these algorithms. That is how the regression works. How do you find out the errors over there? How do you get the optimized line or the optimized curve or the optimized surface? Those kind of problems were there. Then in case of classification, how do you classify it? How do you measure the distances? What is the Euclidean distance and so on? What is SVM, the support vector machines? How are those used? Where are those used? And there are so many. Now, if you start learning all those things, it will probably take few months to learn it, or rather you will need a degree to learn those things. Now, my question here is, in the today's world, do you need to learn these algorithms right from basic concepts up to its full implementation? It's as good as saying that today, if you want to become a very good developer, do I need to learn assembly language? The assembly language is the core of all the programming languages. Any programming language is converted into an assembler code, and which is converted into binary or the opcores of the CPU, and where it is executed. Well, when I started my career, I started with assembly language. A knowledge of assembly language definitely helped me quite a lot. But in today's world, when I advise my students, I tell them don't bother about assembly language. Unless you are writing an operating system or a compiler or a database engine itself, which is highly optimized code, you may not be required to know assembly language. The high level languages still generate a very highly optimized code. So unless you are writing something like a Facebook itself, you need not have to go into those kind of details. Now the same thing would apply here for a data scientist. For a data scientist, when I say, do you need to understand the implementation of those algorithms like SVM or a k nearest neighbor? Probably no. Conceptually, if you understand what the algorithm does, that is more than sufficient. If you know what it does or what kind of output it gives and what kind of inputs it requires, whether it requires a labeled data set or it can work on an unlabeled data set, that is more than sufficient. So you need to learn all this algorithms from the point of view of its conceptual working. So covering those 100 algorithms conceptually will not be a big task. You can do that very easily. And that is what is expected out of a modern data scientist. He will just rely upon those ML engineers, the stats people, the mathematics people, the scientists, the data scientists, and assume that they have generated an optimized code and simply use those algorithms. These algorithms are available in several libraries, and you should know which algorithm to use and how to use it. Right. Now, another important factor which many of the old hat data scientists may not be aware of is, are there any tools available for algorithm selection? I have been talking about several algorithms. I said conceptually you should know those algorithms, that's fine. But still, for classification there are 30 algorithms. I understand them conceptually. Now how do I decide which one should I use or which is the best algorithm for this particular data set? A normal data scientist or that old head data scientist, what he would do is he would take one algorithm, run it on the data set, train the model, test the model, look at the accuracy score, note it down. My accuracy is 92%. Select the next algorithm, repeat the same process, get the accuracy score which is 88%. Oh, it's no good. Take the third algorithm which may give 95%. Is it okay? No. Let me try something more. So it tries one more. It gives a 97%. Am I okay with this? No. I'm greedy. I want to make it 98%. I want to make it 99%. So I keep on trying algorithms. Now some of these algorithms may give you even like 30%, 40%, and so on. The point is you are spending so much of time in trying out those algorithms, which may be like 25, 30. Consider the resources and the time which you have spent in evaluating these algorithms. So there is a tool which is available which is called AutoML. Now in AutoML there are tools which are available which are free to use, or there are tools which are available even for commercial purposes. That is, the commercial licenses are available for that. Now basically in this tool what you do is you just ask this tool, tell him that these are the 30 classification algorithms. You please try this out for me. That tool will pick up one algorithm, set the parameters for it by using whatever the technology they use. I'm not bothered about it. Out of maybe 20-30 parameters which the algorithm requires, it will pick up the best parameters for the particular data set. It will assign some default values to it, and it will do the model training on your full data set. It will look at the score, the accuracy score on the testing data set. It will note it down in its internal memory that this is the accuracy score. Then it will pick up the next algorithm from your set, again calculate the accuracy score. That is exactly what you have done manually. The entire process is automated, and that is why it is called as AutoML. This AutoML will take some time to execute. It's fine. You don't have to sit in front of the computer, come back, have a cup of coffee, come back after some time, look at the results, and the algorithm, the tool would have listed all those selected algorithms with a ranking which can be sorted out in an ascending order. So you pick up the topmost algorithm which it has selected. Now you can trust it, trust the tool, say that this is the algorithm which I want to use on my data set, because all the algorithms it has already tried on your data set itself. So I pick up that, and then I look at the hyper-tuning the parameters. Now it has given some default values, and using the default values for the parameters, it has generated the accuracy score. Now I want to improve that score. So can I do further tuning of these parameters? Yes, again there are tools which are available. One such tool is called Optuna, which will hyper-tune the parameters. That is, you specify the range of values for each parameter. It will try those values with a certain increment specified by you and get you the optimal value for each parameter. So the algorithm which you have selected, now you also have the parameters which are optimally tuned for that algorithm. Your job is done. Where do you need the knowledge of mathematics or the stats? What I need just to know here is whether I am trying to solve a regression problem or a classification problem. I should know which are the classification algorithms and which are the regression algorithms. I just give those 30 algorithms or 40 algorithms to an AutoML tool to give me the best algorithm. Once a best algorithm is obtained, I hyper-tune the parameters, my job is done. So this is what is expected of a modern data scientist. Now it does not mean that the knowledge of those old hat data scientists goes in vain. They can probably apply the knowledge to further fine tune the model or to get the better accuracy. But just tell me one thing, with this process, if I am getting an accuracy of 97%, 98%, will your customer not accept it? Will he insist that I want a 99.99% accuracy? And by the way, if a model gives a 99.99% accuracy or 100% accuracy, you have the problem of overfitting. So that model is never accepted, because that model is never going to work on an unseen data. So if you are getting a accuracy which is more than 95%, it's absolutely acceptable, and that's what we do, right? And that's what these models and the tools will give you. So with this, a job of a data scientist is probably done. So my next question is, have I completely defined the role of a data scientist? The tasks which he has to perform, the tools which are available? Are we over here? No. As I said, the AI has emerged. No more we talk about the technology or the techniques which have been described so far. That is the entire ML development process which I have talked about so far. It now termed as good old-fashioned AI. The industry is saying that's a classical way of machine learning. That's a traditional way of machine learning. It has become old now. You look at the new technology. The technology has advanced quite a lot. And with this new technology, a data scientist has to change. A data scientist has to learn new skills. He has to adapt the new technology. So for this, let us look at what is new in AI. The artificial intelligence has now advanced quite a lot. So, what is the major change here? The major change here is the introduction of the neural networks, that is, artificial neural networks, which mimic the functionality of a brain. Our brain learns on its own. Of course, sometimes we train our child to understand, to make him understand the world around us. So you can have the concept like a supervised training and also the unsupervised learning. But that neural network inside the brain, we really do not know how it really functions, but it does an excellent job. And that is what we call it as an intelligence. We human beings are intelligent. Now, whether the same intelligence can be imparted to a machine which is a dumb machine. The machine so far was just obeying our orders. It was understanding only the binary number 0 and 1, and whatever you say, it will do that. Then the concept of artificial intelligence came, and it has been proved that the machines can even beat human beings in several tasks, like even playing chess. Right? So that is where probably started. And you can train the dumb machines to be intelligent, and probably we can impart the intelligence to machines which can outperform the human beings. So that entire structure of the brain, which consists of several neurons, which are configured in layers, and there are several layers which are available. The entire neuron network can be deep, and those concepts have been adapted into the computer science technology, where people learned how the brain functions, how it gets its training, how it acquires the intelligence, and the same technology has been used in artificial neural networks. So people started developing, designing the neuron or the artificial neuron, also called as perceptron, and they started designing the layers of neurons and created a network similar to the brain. They started training it. Now when these networks become very deep, that is having multiple layers, where each layer is having a large number of nodes or the neurons, we started calling it as deep neural networks. Now, to understand this new technology, what are the skills which are required to understand this new AI development? So, let us look at the skills which a data scientist, a modern data scientist, must acquire. The first thing is, when these neural networks were designed, they started out with very simple network, which are called as feed forward network. So the data will flow only in one direction. Then they started about like back propagation. Then there are several architectures which were developed. People started talking about CNN, RNN, LSTM, and so on. So there are many network configurations which, as a data scientist, you should learn. Now this is something which is taught in computer science and computer engineering. So what we call now as a machine learning engineer, he acquires that knowledge in the school when he takes those subjects as a part of computer science or engineering curriculum. He learns what is ANN, what is DNN, how that entire thing works. Now, how to design your own architecture, what is the loss function in those architectures in the network, what are the optimization techniques, what are the activation functions, where an activation is something which is used for firing a neuron at each layer. So the entire terminology he learns as a part of his college education. Now, old hat data scientist must acquire these skills if he wants to move ahead. As the industry called the old stats based techniques as good old fashioned, they called it as good old fashioned, that probably the industry is willing to forget the technology, is willing to forego that machine learning model and move on to the new technology where they want you to use ANN, DNN kind of things. I'm not saying that ANN, DNN has replaced the good old fashioned AI, but it's an additional promising technology which is available and which has shown a great success in the new AI development, and there have been lots of AI models which have been developed which your old classical algorithms will never be able to solve. I will name those, and that's what I want to talk about, that what comes next. See, these traditional algorithms which I have been talking about are all of them are based on statistics. So they work on the numeric data. Even if there is a text column, you need to convert it into numeric by encoding it. Now, the AI technology has moved to other kinds of data, and that is basically the image data and the text data. The challenge is now to create the AI applications on this new kind of data. So let me talk about first the image data. Now, what kind of AI application would you develop on image data? Well, you have been using such applications. You have seen the face tagging in Facebook. What is it? It's a machine learning model. So when you talk about the AI used in image on image data, then you talk about like object detection, where it can be detecting like the simple objects in a room, a computer, a phone, a chair, and so on. It can be like a person detection, which is very useful for designing the surveillance systems. That is, any person walking in front of the camera should be detected. So those kind of applications, these are all AI based, and this work on image data. You can talk about the applications like monitoring the traffic. How many trucks are moving on this interstate? In which direction, north, south, east, west, are they moving? What is the traffic condition? How do you manage the traffic? So you have to detect whether it is a truck, whether it is a small car, whether it is a sports car, how many vehicles, how many trucks are moving, and so on, for monitoring the traffic. Now this kind of data, they work on the real-time video. So you require a lot of image processing techniques. Now tell me, where is the numeric data here? Now what is the use of all those algorithms which you have learned so far? Am I going to use a classification algorithm here? Yes, you would say you need to classify between a truck and a small car. Yes, true. But that data is not available in the numeric format. It is in an image format which must be converted into a numeric format. That itself is a major task. How to represent that image data into a numeric format which the machine can understand, and then you can use probably those old algorithms to do the classification. But remember here, the data set could be still large. It could be real-time images. So you need the image processing in real time. Now, so what are the skills for processing this image data? See, the major problem that we face in creating the image-based AI application is, from where do I get the image data? Just consider a simple application which in machine learning probably all of you must have learned. classifying between a cat and a dog. There are several images which are available of a cat and a dog, and then given a image you want to identify, or given a new picture, you want your model to infer whether it contains a cat or a dog. This is quite simple. Now the samples which you may have, fortunately the data sets which are available are sufficiently large enough to train those. But suppose you are capturing your own pictures of a cat or a dog or some other new kind of animal, or say the dog breeds. Among the dogs you want to classify them into different breeds, and there may be hundreds of breeds. Now for a particular breed you may get only 1 or 2 sample dogs. How many pictures are you going to click? Maybe 5, 10, 15, 20. So to train the model, that number is not sufficient. So what you need to do is you need to augment that image, change the image so that it is viewed from a different angle. So you get a different view as far as the machine is concerned. So for a machine learning, you create a larger data set by augmenting the images. So the image augmentation is one of the major technique that you must learn as a data scientist if you want to develop application based on image data. The second important factor could be like image processing. You need to process the image. You need to remove the images which are blurred, maybe remove the background images, bring it to a single tone like black and white, remove the color tone, remove the shadows and so on. So you may have to use some image processing techniques. So you must be familiar with those things. Another important factor would be extracting the features from an image. Now if I want to detect an object, if I want to say differentiate between a cat and a dog picture, or a human being and a lion, how do I do it? The moment you look at the picture, or even if I give you a very small portion of it, say maybe the human nose or the human ear, the moment you look at even a very small portion of it, you will immediately come to know that this is a human eye, so the entire picture must be of a human being. You look at the lion eye and probably you will know, yes, this is a lion picture. So if you take the entire picture and try to process it and try to understand the entire picture, the model training will be almost impossible, because each image size goes into several megabytes or even in gigabytes. So to train a model on such huge data, and there will be thousands and 10,000s of such pictures, will be impossible. So you basically zoom into the picture, take the smaller portion of it, and they basically extract the features which can help in identifying the kind of object. And that is how the object detection works. So you need to learn those techniques which are used in the CNN architecture. You might have heard of that CNN. So somebody designed that CNN which has been very successful in object detection, and we use it practically. Now there may be very rare situations where probably you will need to extract the features for your own purpose, and then you will have to understand how the entire CNN architecture works. But now processing this new kind of data, that is the image data, a data scientist is expected to learn these new skills. That is representing the images into a machine understandable format and processing the images so that a model can be trained. A model cannot be trained on terabytes of data. You need to reduce the data size. So this is what is expected for image processing. The next type of data is the text data. Now after a great success of using the machine learning for image data, people in this world thought of applying ML for the text data. The kind of applications which they could think of are like sentiment analysis. The tweets which are coming in may contain an hateful language. I don't want to read those tweets, so I want to filter those. So there comes the sentiment analysis. There could be applications like topic modeling. As a publisher or as an editor of some magazine, I keep on getting lots of submissions. Now I want to categorize these submissions into the various categories. That is, this is related to art, this is related to science, or this is related to computer science, this is related to machine learning, and so on. So that kind of topic modeling should be done automated. Now if I start reading as an editor or as a acquisition editor, if I start reading all those articles myself, I will have no time in this world to do anything else. Rather, the time will not be sufficient. The inflow because of interflow is so high that people keep on just dumping the articles to the publishing house. So we use the machine learning algorithms to sort out these articles and pass it on to the individual acquisition editors in that category to sort it further. So that's where a topic modeling is very useful on text data. So people wanted to develop this kind of application. Another important kind of application which they thought of is language translation. Now the primary need started with the tourists. You go to a German airport and you will see that all the signs on the airport are in Germany. The first time I visited German airport, I was totally lost. I knew how to go to Terminal 2, but I could not read Terminal 2. Where is it? Because everything is in Germany, right? Now you have the mobile applications. You just point your mobile to that sign and it will translate that to English. A simple language translation tool available on your mobile which does the translation from any language in the world to any other language. The number of languages available is tremendous. The technology has advanced to a great extent. Basically, it's a textual data which is an AI application on the textual data which does this language translation. The language translation has really advanced much further than this, and that's where the NLU comes, the natural language understanding. Now before I proceed ahead, let us look at the skills required for developing this kind of text applications. So what is expected out of a modern data scientist? Now for a modern data scientist who is required to develop applications on a textual data, that is basically we talk about the domain of natural language processing, NLP. So here the first task is to represent the text data to a numeric format which a machine can understand. Just the way I talked about the image data, where how to represent the images to a binary format, the same thing applies here, the how to represent the text data into a numeric format. You may just argue that numeric data is already, the text data is already in the numeric format. The text data is in ASCII format. What is it? Basically a binary number, a series of zeros and ones. What is ASCII? Is basically zeros and ones. But when we do NLP or when we develop the text-based AI applications, we are not interested in the character data. We are interested in the words. We are interested in sentences. Say for example, if you are required to summarize a document, create a one-page summary of a novel, which goes into thousands of pages. What do you want to create a one-page summary? That is something which is printed on the back cover of a book. A potential buyer looks at the back cover, reads this summary before scanning through the book, and then makes a decision on buying the book. So that summary is very important. Now, if you want to create this summary, you will have to read 1000 pages. What if a machine can learn these pages and create a summary for me? Now, that kind of an application where representing that entire novel in characters is of no use. I need to understand the sentences. I need to understand the language. I need to understand the context, and that is where the concept of even a natural language understanding comes. So that's a new concept. The new terminology which is used in the industry is not NLP, it is NLU, natural language understanding. So the skills which are required here is how to represent the text to a numeric format, that is basically how to represent the words and the sentences into a numeric format which the machine can understand. My next problem that comes in the text applications, in the text AI applications is, now since each word or each sentence can be considered or is a potential candidate to be a feature in machine learning, how many words a novel will contain? Tens of thousands or even approaching a million. Now just imagine, can I train a model with million features? It's not possible. We don't have that processing power and that much of time of execution. It's impossible, right? So we need to reduce the feature count. We need to reduce the vocabulary size. So it requires the text pre-processing and developing the application like language translation. Not only that, we need to understand the meaning of that word in the context in which it is used. Mind well, the same word appearing in different places in a text will convey different meanings. And that is the part of NLP or NLU. Now, there are many techniques which are available. There is a famous paper, Attention is All You Need, on which the transformers are developed, and then there are several models which are developed like BERT and so on. So these are the skills which are required for processing the text data. You need to represent the text data into numeric format, do a text pre-processing, reduce the features count, understand the context of the entire text corpus before you can really train the model. Now, as such, data is really voluminous, is humongous. You can still apply your traditional machine learning algorithms, the algorithms which you have used so far, like SVC, KNN, and so on, to solve your business problems. People have done this. For small data it works, and even for large data, by reducing the word count, those algorithms have been sufficiently used. So your knowledge of that old technology does not really go in vain. It is still applicable here. However, with huge data, these models will never work, and that is where companies have invested a lot of money in processing such large data, which goes in terabytes or other several terabytes of data, and they have trained the models, they have designed the DNN, the deep neural networks. They have trained those models by using the proper loss functions, optimization techniques, the activation functions, and whatnot. We are not bothered about it. Those architectures are publicly known, so it's not a secret. You can study those architectures, you can study how those are trained. They also tell you how much of CPU power is required, or rather how much of TPU power is required They are not used GPU, they are used even the TPUs for processing. How many days or rather how many weeks of training was imparted, what was the server farm which was used, and so on, and they have trained many such models. Now these are the pre-trained models which are available for both images, for the both image data and the text data. As a data scientist, your task is to learn how to use these pre-trained models. Fortunately for us, for the industry, for the entire community, for journal people, these scientists, these companies have made those trained models available for our use. We can use those freely or on a larger scale. There are commercial licenses available, so you can use it even on a commercial basis. But there are many free models which are available. You can use those models and develop your own applications. Now for images, I will just name few models which are available. You can use something like ImageNet. You can use VGG16. You can use RES NET50. You can use Inception V3, and there are so many more. So as a data scientist, you need to understand the different models, or rather understand the purpose for which these models were developed. Some work very efficiently on the still images, some work on the real-time video, that is the real-time images. Some do a certain kind of classification, that is they are able to classify maybe 200 different types of objects and so on. So you need to understand the purpose for which these models were trained and how to use them. Then I will talk about the pre-trained models for the text data. For the text data, there are several models which are available, which are transformer based. That's a new technology which I said was developed for doing the NLU. Earlier we used to use architectures like RNN, LSTM and so on. It's still worthwhile for a data scientist to learn those technologies, that what is RNN, what is LSTM, what is post tagging and so on, and how this entire new NLP or the NLU technology evolved, how the BERT was developed, or what is the purpose of DERT, what purpose it serves us, what is Transformer XL, what is GPT-2 and GPT-3, how to use them. So these are several pre-trained models which are available, and you need to learn how to use them. You need to learn the purpose of this and use them and extend this. Incidentally, these both types of pre-trained models, those which work on image data and those which work on text data, can be used for your own purpose. Not only that, you can extend these models, add more layers to it, more network layers to it, which you can just train. You do not have to train the entire model, which is impossible. So you use the same configuration, you use the output from that and add your layers, and you train your layers for the further classification. In case of images, we can in fact use the output of the intermediate layers also, where the features are extracted. So you can use that output and do your further processing. So there are different architectures which are available. As a data scientist, if you want to develop AI applications in this domain or in these new types of data, that is image and the text, then you need to understand how to use these pre-trained models. Now, having said all this, let us come to the conclusions. So, to conclude our dare to say, we have been using the data science technology, the machine learning algorithms which are based on statistics for quite a long time. They have shown a great success. A lot of applications have been developed. Now, there are many situations still where you have very small data sets. The data sets only numeric, and those are the places where you will still use that technology. You will use those statistics based, the old fashioned AI. So the world is not over for those kind of algorithms or for that kind of a machine learning development. But as a data scientist in the industry, what we expect is a data scientist. When we hire a data scientist, we want data scientists to be familiar with the new technology, with the new skills. So what is required is the new technology which has come is neural networks. So from the classical algorithms, stats-based algorithms, which work excellently on the numeric data, we have moved into a new domain, which is into a new technology, and which is neural networks. So you should understand the neural network technology fully. The technology has advanced to such a great extent that there are now many pre-trained models which are available. So you should understand DNN, you should understand how to use those pre-trained models. And what is more important is, so far in the industry or the businesses, we're talking about only the numeric database which is available in their corporate databases which they have been capturing. The financial data, the sales data, the inventory, and so on. Now the requirement has changed. They want you to analyze the reviews, the feedback on the company, on their products, design the recommendation engines, promote the products. Now all these applications are text-based, those are image-based, and so on. So what the industry is asking for, a data scientist should know these new types of data on which the machine learning now works. And it has proven, it has worked. So if you want to be a data scientist, you need to work on this, all three data types, that is the numeric data type, the image data type, and the text data type. You need to understand both the technologies, the classical machine learning algorithms and the neural networks. So this is what I would guide you to become a good data scientist. If you do not possess those skills, try to acquire those skills. Now some of these skills are taught in mathematics or statistics course, which comes in a different field, in a different discipline in college education. And there is another discipline which is engineering discipline, where we call those as a machine learning engineer. Now these two disciplines are merged together into a data scientist role. So as a data scientist, what are the disciplines you have learned in college? You have to acquire the skills, you have to acquire the knowledge of the other discipline, and then you will become a successful data scientist who will be picked up by the industry very easily. So with all this saying, I wish you a good luck in learning the new technology. Goodbye, and thank you for watching this video.